Hey, what's up? Welcome back. I've got another guitar to rescue, and this one is an Epiphone. It's a made in China bolt-on neck Les Paul. And this is how I got this guitar. No strings, missing the bridge and everything. Everything's kind of rusty, old, and this is just going to be a simple kind of refurbish and repaint. And I'm going to show you how to paint a guitar, which I hate to paint, but I'm going to show you how to repaint a guitar for cheap. All right. So let's do this. Okay, so the first thing I have to do is take it apart. Let's take it apart. So I'm going to show you how to remove these posts, because there's a lot of theories and a lot of methods out there on the internet, and they all require, special things. They make a tool for it, or you can fashion this together, this and that, whatever, blah, 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 blah. But I have found a way that all you need is a little piece of wood. All right? So what this is just a tiny piece of a dowel rod that fits in this hole. So you find yourself a tiny piece of dowel rod that fits in that hole, and you put it in there. Then you take the post that goes in there, and you start screwing it in until, okay, it won't screw in anymore, right? Anyway, you keep turning it, keep screwing it in. As you screw it in, hey, it does work by hand. It forces it out because the piece of wood that's down in there is pushing up against the screw, and it doesn't have anywhere to go, so this will come out. It's super easy. Ta-da! Alright, so I've got it all taken apart, and so now I'm going to sand the paint down. I may not sand it all the way down, just kind of rough it up so I can stick new paint to it. So this guitar, it's a plywood body. It's not like the nicest guitar in the world, and that's okay. But because of that, I'm not going to put really expensive parts on it. I'm going to use other inexpensive parts, yet new parts. So I've got this Tune-o-matic bridge that's got the rollers that I got off a Wish or something like that, and it's cheap, and that's fine. There's nothing wrong with cheap per se on this guitar. If I was, building one from scratch, I would use, the nice expensive parts. But anyway, the problem is that the bushings for the original Tune-o-matic bridge, they fit in these holes just fine. But the posts for this one are much smaller. They require a much, much smaller hole, and they don't fit. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to fill that hole and drill a new hole. Seems like a good idea to me. Let's do it. You may also be saying, he's using way too much glue, but you can't use too much glue because the glue you don't need squeezes out. So, yeah, I should have glued those in before I cut them, because I didn't put them back in exactly right, so they're not flush anymore, but that's okay, because we're going to sand this down anyway. But, in the future, glue it first, and then cut it. Okay, I'm going to start out with like 80 grit. Cling spores. It's not cling spores, it's crap. Now I don't really want to take this down to bare wood, because the last time I did that with a plywood guitar, it caused problems with pores in the plywood. So really, I'm just getting it down to where there's no imperfections. There were a few dings and things in this. I'm trying to just get the dings down, and then you know, we're gonna prime it and paint it anyway. So who cares what's under that, right? So the edges, I'm not gonna hit the edges with the 80 because that'll take too much off and it might make little waves in it. So we're gonna do that part by hand. Oh, and for the people who are gonna say, why didn't you use a chemical stripper? Why didn't you use this? Why didn't you use that? I don't wanna. No, but it's messy. All that, you get that crap all over the place. It gets down in the wood. I just don't like it. So for me, sanding it is fine. Besides, it's not like we're restoring a 57 Les Paul. We're just, you know, playing with a plywood guitar. So I know I said I wasn't going to sand it all the way down to the wood, but the paint was really thin, so I sanded it all the way down to the bare wood. I just wanted to see what it looked like. It's not that bad for a plywood body. It's got like a sealer on it, so you can't really feel the different layers. And looks like they've used some sort of grain filler to smooth it out. You can see all these gray, like kind of grayish spots. I believe that's what that is. So I'm still going to paint it, but I just kind of wanted to see how good a plywood body was. It's not bad. And now I'm going to sand down the neck and sand everything off the headstock. So it's not going to say Epiphone anymore. I might change the headstock just because. I don't know. We'll see. Now it's important when you're doing this, if you're using an electric sander with a coarse grit, that you don't change the shape of the neck profile. So, you know, as soon as the paint is, like there's a spot where the paint's gone, you stop. You go really, really light. And I'm going to switch to hand sanding and all that to make sure that I don't screw it up. Too bad. This may be controversial, but I am going to change the shape of the headstock. So another thing that you may be thinking is that since I sanded the paint off of the neck here, it's going to affect the neck joint, you know, where it fits. Well, it was pretty garbage to begin with. It was lots of play, lots of wiggle room, right? See, you don't want that. So I was going to address that anyway by filling it with wood filler to try to make it a little bit more cohesive. So I'm going to try that. And we'll see if it works. That's the great thing about working with these cheap guitars. You can try stuff you've never done, and if it doesn't work, you're not really out anything. Like, I didn't pay anything for this. My friend gave it to me, so we'll try it. Now I'm going to pull it back out just to see. And see, there is plenty on the bottom, and I didn't want that. So to make sure I've got this on here straight, I'm going to flip her over. I'm going to put the screws back in and screw the neck down while this stuff sets. And I don't know if this will work. I've let this sit overnight with the wood filler in there, and I didn't film this, but I did take it back off just to check it out because I noticed it was sitting a little bit too high because the wood filler had gotten underneath it, so I scraped that out before it hardened. But anyhow, let's take this back off, and let's hope that it's not glued in from the wood filler. No, it's not. Okay, so that kind of worked. This wood filler is really coarse. It's like sand. It's coarser than I would want it to be. But anyway, it did the trick. It filled in just a little bit of gap on the edge, and it stuck to this as well, which that's fine. I don't care. But I'm gonna sand it down a little bit smoother. And again, this could be a terrible idea. Yeah, now it's not as loosey-goosey as it was. Sweet. Okay. So what I want to do now, where I filled these in, I'm going to drill new holes. Alright, so now I believe we are ready for paint. I have to go get paint. That means I have to go out in public. Oh well, that's the price we pay, right? Okay, so we're almost ready to paint. But I've got to tape off the fretboard because I don't want to paint the fretboard. That would look weird. So we have put an entire can of primer on this. That seems to be the rule I like to go by. Just use a whole can for one guitar. Not all at one shot, of course. You know, a couple coats until you run out of paint, until you run out of primer, and then it's primed. So now, before I put down the color, I'm gonna lightly sand it with like 320, and kind of get rid of some of the bumpies, you know. And I want to be really careful around the edges so that I don't sand off the primer. I don't know if I've discussed this before, but my little system here that I have for hanging guitars when I paint them, this is just simple, you know, 2x4s. I just made an arch with feet on the bottom, and I take these little cup hooks and I screw them into the guitar where the strap button goes, because there's already a hole there, and it's the same size screw, so it works. And then for the neck, I just screwed it in down here. I had to make a hole for that one because there wasn't one already there. That's not a big deal though, because this is going to be hidden inside the neck pocket anyway. So that just allows you to hang it up. And I've got lots of hooks for all sorts of hanging different things in different ways. So there, if you were wondering about that, that's what that is. All right, boys and girls, it has been a couple of weeks. So my painting skills suck, right? I'm not good at it, right? But I'm practicing and I'm getting better. So this was supposed to be a silver burst, which I failed at very badly. So now it's just this. I mean, it's a nice color. It's this like metallic black spray paint. And there's a couple of runs and things. I'll sand those out. What I'm going to do, I was trying to sand out some of the runs on the neck, and on the edges I went through the black a little bit into the silver, because I did spray silver underneath. And I'm not buying another can of paint. They're like $8 a can. I'm not putting that much more money into this project. So this one is going to be kind of a relic, which a lot of you are going to hate. And I'm sorry that you're going to hate that, but I'm just going to sand like all the corners and stuff down through the black so the silver shows through. And it's still going to look cool. I'm going to think it looks cool. If you don't like relic guitars, I'm sorry. I'm not a big fan of them either. I'm not going to beat it up real bad. I'm not going to beat it with chains and things like that. I'm just going to wear the paint out, all right? It's going to look good, okay? Have no fear. Anyway, so what I've been doing is sanding with, that's not it. My shop's a mess. I'm doing like 3 things at once, man. So yeah, some 320, and I'm just sanding out all the runs and the bad spots, and kind of going through to expose that silver underneath. And trying to salvage my crappy paint job. One day I'm gonna have a proper like paint booth, and I'm gonna do some killer paint jobs. Matter of fact, here's a bit of a spoiler. I've got a project coming up where I'm going to attempt to do a hydro dip. It's gonna be like an Ibanez style guitar. So I'm going to try to do the hydro dip with the water and the paint on top. So if you're not subscribed, subscribe, and you'll get to see that when I do that, because that's next, after I finish this project. All right, you don't have to watch me sand it. You have to watch me sand a little bit. I'm going to speed it up. Quick tip, if you're sanding out runs in the paint, what I like to do is you kind of go over the whole thing with like a pad so that it's flat, and it will kind of accentuate those runs so you can see them better. I mean, plan A is don't get any runs in your paint by painting it properly, but if you do, so you take where there's a run, right, and I just take just the tip of my finger and I sand the direction that the run's going in. And then you do some circulars around that. And it disappears. Because if you keep going perpendicular to where the run is, you're going to keep sanding all the paint that's around it, as well as the run, and you're never going to fix the problem. because you're going to sand through this and there's still going to be color here because it's thicker. That's what a run is. A run is thicker paint. So go along with it until it just about disappears, and then in a circle. So it's all smooth. That's the only sanding tip you're going to get today. Okay, so the guitar is painted and polished, and so now I'm just taking some steel wool and I'm cleaning up these frets because they are gross. They're rusty. So I'm just cleaning them with the steel wool first. Then I'm going to inspect and see if they need to be leveled and crowned and all that fun stuff. So here we go. Now I'm going to teach you a trick to clean up all this dust. You take any old plastic bag and a magnet. You put the magnet in the bag, right? And then you just let the magnet pick up all the little bits of steel from the steel wool. Get it up. I mean, maybe this felt blanket wasn't the best idea because it'll stick in there, but get most of it out. But the reason for the plastic bag is now, when you take the bag off, you don't have all that stuff stuck to your magnet. It's just in the bag. Clean magnet. So I got everything cleaned up, right? And I checked it with the rocker, and the frets are not quite even. You can hear it. You hear it rocking. They're not even. And it's like that all down the whole neck. So I'm going to have to level them. But one thing I'm going to do is I'm going to tape off everything that's not frets so I don't get it all in the wood. I've got the wood nice and clean from the steel wool, so I don't want to mess that part up. So time to tape it off. And now for the pickups. I'm trying to reuse as many things as possible, but I'm not going to reuse these crusty Epiphone pickups. I'm going to use these nice shiny pickups that actually came with my SG kit that you may have seen a video for on my channel. But I changed out the pickups in the SG, and I'm going to use those pickups. I am going to reuse these pickup rings. I'm going to show you how to bring these crusty pickup rings back to life. Got the pickup out, but the ring is still pretty gross. But if I take a little bit of this same polishing compound that we use on the guitar and an old t-shirt, a little chunk of old t-shirt here, just wipe it down with that, and it'll be good as new. You only need a little dab. The dab will do you. So this is going to clean off the scum that's all over it, as well as polish it up. Keep a stick around just to get the polish out of the holes, because it inevitably gets rubbed in there. Yeah, look at that. Good as new now. So then you put your pickup in it. There's one I've already done. I had to test it before I showed you, because I just thought of this. There we go. Now we can put these in the guitar. Hi. So I'm on my other bench now, so the camera's angle is going to look a little bit different. But it happens. So I've got the electronics in. I went ahead and did that off camera because whatever, you know. So I just kind of recycled some electronics that I already had from another guitar. And I've got one of these sweet little Russian capacitors in here on the tone, but it's a pretty easy kind of wiring job. I used the stuff that I pulled out of the other one and used that as a template. But what I don't have is I don't have a cover for this, and I don't have a cover, you know, to attach this. So I'm gonna have to make a cover. Let's do that. I'm done with it. And you may notice that this is a completely different piece of wood than the first one. The first one broke. It was really brittle. I think it was strong wood, but it was brittle, right? So like, it breaks along the grain really easy. So we had to toss that one. And this one is made from a piece of pecan. Pecan's really flexible. And I'm not going to try to break it because it's pretty thin, you know. But anyway, I cut it out and I put the holes for the screws. And I chamfered the holes for that. And I put several coats of the same clear coat I used on the guitar. So now this is ready to go. Look at that. And it's a nice little contrast. You got this like metallic looking guitar with this one like kind of rough looking piece of wood on the back. It represents the duality of man. I'm an artist, goddammit. And now I need to put some screws. Some screws. I gotta find some screws. I had to buy a jack plate because I didn't have one with this guitar, and the one that was on it was one that I kind of just slapped together out of a piece of a pick guard, and it looks like shit, so I purchased a proper one on Amazon. And see, it's nice and pretty in chrome. So. Again, this isn't a very expensive guitar. My main goal is just to make this guitar playable. Because it was not. And we're kind of just using what we have. Right? Can't sink a lot of money into this particular piece. You can sink a lot of money into nicer things. This one's not nice. Not great, you know, but it'll play. It'd be especially nice for, like, you know, a beginner or somebody. I think even a beginner should have a pretty nice guitar, at least one that's set up properly. And this one is going to be set up properly. It still needs a truss rod cover, but the one that was on it was ugly. Like it says Gibson, even though this wasn't even a Gibson to begin with. So I may have to make one for it in the near future. So it's done now. Let's go record a song on it.